California, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of the SoCal Sports Show. Today we have ourselves quite the show, as we have a lot to get to in the world of Southern California sports, such as UCLA women's team taking down USC in the Big Ten Championship tournament. Now, can the Bruins ride that momentum all the way to the national championship? Also, they weren't the only one that punched an automatic qualifier from this past week. No, there was another team from SoCal that did that on. Speaking of basketball, the Lakers unfortunately dropped one to the Celtics, but they also lost LeBron James in the process. Can the Lakers right the ship and get back on track, even though they've been so riddled? And the Clippers have been inconsistent. They did beat the Miami Heat, but and they had such a bad loss against the New Orleans Pelicans. Can the Clippers get back on track and avoid the play? Also, we have the NCAA men's basketball update as all SoCal semifinals in the Big West. The UCLA is doing battle against Wisconsin, and we have another team that had a deep run to the West Coast Conference tournament, as well as a team that's currently in the WAC tournament semifinals. Also, the Galaxy continues to do the MLS, but it defends the CONCACAF, same with LAFC. And both teams will win another in terms of the CONCACAF tournament. All that more here on the SoCal Spring Sports Show. This is Teran Rodriguez bringing you another edition of the SoCal Spring Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. And welcome one, welcome all to another edition of the SoCal Spring Sports Show. Thank you all for joining me on this beautiful Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday morning, Friday wherever you are listening from. Either way, you've made your way to episode 220 of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. And without any further delay, let us begin. But first and foremost, the SoCal Supreme Sports Show would not be where it's at without IE Sports Radio providing the platform to go live on StreamYard and on Twitch as well. Please do follow IE Sports Radio on several different social media platforms such as X, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We would greatly appreciate it. And also make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube. We would greatly appreciate it. We're trying to reach 400 subscribers by the end of this month. We're trying to reach up to 500 as well. So with your help, we can definitely make it happen. Also, make sure to check out our website, iesportsradio.com, for all of your latest sports news, our blog, our page dedicated to each podcast, such as the SoCal Spring Sports Show, our merchandise shop, where you can cop t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, and much more. Also, make sure to check out our Hall of Fame, where yours truly is inductee number 10 in the Hall of Fame, and our Fans of the Month, and so much more. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports stages around the country. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that sports. Also, make sure to follow IE Sports Radio on several different podcast platforms. IE Sports Radio is also available on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify. The list goes on and on. JioSaavn, iHeartRadio, you name it. Before we get on into the SoCal sports action, we need to give a word to our sponsors: Planet Jerky, Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, Seal the Deal Wax Seals, Vital Apparel, and a little shout out to Raw Nutrition Supplements, and a little word about us. So without any further delay, let's get on in to our sponsors.
IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm. single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
That's right, everybody. Definitely check out all of our amazing sponsors and check out our website, iesportsradio.com. we would definitely appreciate it. And we appreciate our sponsors for having our full support. Also, make sure to check out our most recent sponsor, Raw Nutrition Supplements. Go to getrawnutrition.com, and if you use the code ISR, you'll get 10% off. We guarantee you won't be disappointed. And the way you can follow the SoCal Supreme Sports Show on social media is on X, formerly known as Twitter, @set_point IESR. And you can follow me, the host, Teran Rodriguez, on X as well, @Teran Rodriguez1. That's where I am mainly active. All right, without any further delay, one more thing before we start. We have the link to the Supporters Club on Spreaker for the SoCal Supreme Sports Show. If you ever want to be a supporter of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, it's only $5 a month, and you can follow this link right here, or it's also in the description as well, where you can follow that link to become a member. Like I said, $5 a month, and you'll get a shout from me on every show. You'll even get a chance to be a guest on the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where we can talk all things like SoCal sports or whatever you wish, as long as it's clean and whatnot. Also, if after 4 months you're still part of the Supporters Club, I will ship off a IA Sports Radio t-shirt or tank top of your choice. And who knows, maybe I'll throw in some more after that. I mean, maybe I'll throw in a gift card after X amount of months. So we'll see. The possibilities are endless, but that can only be achieved if you are part of the Supporters Club. All right. Without any further delay, let's get on into the SoCal sports action. So let's start off with some NCAA women's basketball. So NCAA women's basketball, UCLA finally broke through against USC in the Big Ten championship final. So it was a very fun final. USC looked like they were going to run away with this. Okay, maybe not run away with this, but they were just strong in the first half. But the problem is with USC, they didn't really blow out UCLA. They didn't distance themselves. And honestly, that was kind of the turning point of the whole game. And UCLA, to their credit, they were just hanging in there. And then eventually UCLA was down, I think, they were down 8 at the half. And I was thinking, okay, well, UCLA does have a good chance at possibly coming back. And 8 is actually very manageable in terms of making a comeback. And UCLA's defense really locked down USC in the second half, especially late in the second half. And eventually, UCLA kept feeding the ball to Lauren Betts. This game was played on Sunday, by the way. But UCLA really just answered the bell when it came to taking on a rival. Keep in mind, UCLA was the 2 seed and USC was the 1 seed. And honestly, this was no surprise to see both teams in the conference championship. But in the second half, UCLA's defense really locked down on USC as they held USC to only 9 points in the third quarter, and eventually UCLA tied it up at 55 apiece going into the final frame. Actually, it was 52 apiece. My apologies, but I digress. But UCLA eventually took the lead as they kept feeding the ball down to Lauren Betts, and they kept capitalizing on their opportunities and forcing USC to turn the ball over, which is unfortunate. USC did try to make it a little interesting toward the end, but honestly, it was just too little too late. UCLA made their free throws, and eventually they came away with the 72-67 win over the Trojans. Something big that was also notable for UCLA is that UCLA actually held Juju Watkins to 6 points in the second half. Well, they held her to 11 points overall, but they held Juju Watkins to 6 points in 19 minutes and 47 seconds of the second half. Her last 5 points came in the last 13 seconds. So, and also something to note is that Lauren Betts also reached 1,000 career points with UCLA. So that's something to note as well, as she actually led the Bruins with 17 points. London Jones had 13 points, as well as Kiki Rice. And then Tamea Gardner had 9 points off the bench, which I thought was pretty key as well. UCLA was actually pretty efficient from the field. They shot 52% from the field. They shot over 50% from 3. They did miss 3 free throws, but it was only 3 free throws. Now, USC, on the other hand, they had such an awful night in terms of shooting the ball. They actually only shot 34% from the field. They were 8 for 28 from downtown. And while they did only miss 2 free throws, that didn't really translate to too many points, as Juju Watkins led the way with 29 points. Yes, 29 points is great, but she really kind of quieted down in the second half, and she didn't really start surging until the final few seconds of the second half or the fourth quarter. So, and then the only double-digit point totaler for USC in terms of the point department was Kiki Irafin, who had 10 points. She also added 5 boards. Juju also turned the ball over as well, as she had 5 turnovers, which is not ideal. And then Avery Howell added 9 points off the bench. It looks like 8 points. Yeah, 8 points. Same with Talia Von Olhafon. So all in all for USC, was a tough loss, but like I replied to them on X, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in one season, and it's even more difficult when that same team makes adjustments in the second half. So all in all for USC, it was kind of an uphill climb, but they have nothing to hang their heads about. All they have to do is just flush the loss down the toilet and just move on. Now, this does kind of cost USC the possibility of being a 1 seed, which means they're going to have to go on the road in order to win the regional finals, unless of course USC, gets that slight nod ahead of like someone like a UConn. But then again, you also have other conference champions to take into consideration. So all in all for USC, it's not going to be a matter of if they're going to be in the NCAA tournament. It's going to be a matter of who they're going to be facing and where they'll be in terms of if and when they get in. But you have to tip your hat to UCLA. And this is something I also mentioned on X as well. This is something I also replied to one of UCLA's posts. Can we all stop the hate on Corey Close? Everyone rags her for all the losses and all the bad losses that UCLA has to like USC and whatnot. But she had a great game plan in the second half. She legit had a great game plan to double Juju Watkins whenever she got the ball and put pressure on her. And the game plan offensively was to feed the ball down low to Lauren Betts, which I thought was a great game plan because USC, other than Juju Watkins, doesn't really have the size to match up against someone of Lauren Betts' height. So I think for UCLA, they had a great game plan in the second half, and we just need to stop with the whole Corey Close hate. It's really disappointing that some UCLA fans are on the haterade when it comes to Corey Close, but honestly, she's a fantastic coach. She had a great game plan. She outcoached Lindsay Gottlieb when it mattered most, and I think people need to and remember, this UCLA team, I get it, the players are the ones that did the work. They were the ones that executed the game plan, but Close was the one that had the game plan signed, sealed, and delivered for UCLA. So I think she deserves just as much credit as the team does. And she'll get the blame if and when UCLA loses. It's fair is fair, right? Right. Okay, so that's going to do it for UCLA. But there was actually another team that clinched a spot in the NCAA tournament, and that actually happens to be San Diego State, as they actually wound up winning the MPSF tournament, which I thought was pretty darn good if you ask me. So impressive stuff from them. I don't remember if they got a first-round bye. All I just know is that they ended the regular season with a win, which was big stuff right there. And they did actually get a first-round bye. They got a bye all the way to the quarterfinals. As before we continue on that, we got to give a shout out to the chat room. Ralph Cleese says, wait, this is the wrong one. This is the wrong one. He says, good afternoon, Teran. Have an incredible show today. And listen to the man. He says, hit that thumbs up button for Teran and his show and excellent sports journalism. Well, I appreciate you, Ralph. That really does mean a lot. And then he actually says something that I'm about to go into later on the show. But Big Mike of Indie Sports Nation, he says, impressive win for UCLA over USC. The men gave my Boilers a run last night. Have a great show. He's referring to the men's side of things, but I'll get into that a little bit later as well. And then Brian Francione says, welcome, Teran. Thank you, Brian. Have yourself a great day, and thank you for popping in. All right, but jumping on into San Diego State in terms of women's basketball, they actually started off the MPSF tournament in the quarterfinals when they took on New Mexico, and the Aztecs actually got off to a little bit of a slow start. They were down 20-15 after one. They eventually tied it up going into halftime, and then San Diego State played lockdown defense. They held New Mexico to only 5 points in the third quarter. 5 points in the third quarter. So, and eventually San Diego State just rode the momentum from there, and that lead was just too insurmountable as the Aztecs wound up beating New Mexico 63-53. Leading the way for San Diego State was Callie Clark, who had 12 points. So I haven't really been giving San Diego State a whole lot of love just because they haven't really been, the greatest. And I have a lot of SoCal sports to talk about. So it's not a matter of I don't want to talk about San Diego State. It's just a matter of there's just so much SoCal sports to get into that this show would be longer than it needs to be. And I'm trying to keep my shows under 90 minutes. In addition, Callie Clark had the 12 points as she came on off the bench. She also had 9 boards. Adriana Quezada also had 12 points for San Diego State. And then also off the bench, Jaslyn Green had 11 points, and she also had 2 steals. So all in all, solid win for San Diego State, especially when they surged in that second half. Sometimes it's not a matter of how you start, it's how you finish the game. And I thought San Diego State did a great job. So they advanced to the MPSF semifinals where they took on UNLV. So UNLV was actually the host of this whole tournament just because probably number 1 seed and whatnot. And San Diego State, they were in a battle first quarter, but the second quarter, San Diego State, I don't know what happened, but San Diego State had a massive surge in that second quarter. And suddenly, after being down 1, they were actually up 13 at halftime. And eventually, San Diego State was not going to relinquish that lead as San Diego State wound up beating the UNLV Lady Rebels 71-59, which I thought was very impressive. And UNLV has kind of had the Aztecs number for the most part, but San Diego State had 4 out of its 5 starters in double digits, and they had Jaslyn Green cracking double digits in terms of points, as she had 10 points. Leading the way for the Aztecs in the win was Veronica Sheffy, who had 15 points and 4 boards. Naomi I'm probably going to butcher this name. Naomi Panjanaban, she had 14 points and 4 boards. Kim Villalobos had 11 points with 8 boards, and Adriana Quezada had 10 points. So it was a great win for San Diego State as UNLV was led by Alyssa Brown, who had 15 points. And then Amarachi Kimpson had 10 points, and then Cara Jackson had 14 points. But it was an amazing win for San Diego State as they advanced to the MPSF Championship, which was held on Tuesday, I want to say, if not Wednesday. Either way, they played Wyoming in the MPSF Championship, and they took on Wyoming, which also was on a little bit of a Cinderella run. And I thought it was really awesome as this was played on Wednesday. So this was played on Wednesday. So this matchup against Wyoming was actually might have been one of the better ones as both San Diego State and Wyoming were actually tied at halftime. And then San Diego State was down 2 after 3 quarters. And then both teams had the most interesting fourth quarter. The 2 teams combined for 10 points. 10 points. San Diego State scored a whopping 6 points in that fourth quarter while holding Wyoming to a whopping 4. So eventually overtime was needed, and San Diego State needed not 1, not 2, but 3 overtimes to take down Wyoming 72-68, winning the MPSF championship. So amazing win for San Diego State as they were led by Veronica Sheffy, who had 24 points. Naomi Panjanaban had 17 points. Callie Clark had 12 points and 17 boards, as well as 6 steals. And Kim Villalobos had 9 boards to go along with 11 points. So Clark got moved to the starting lineup, which I thought was very deserving of her. And Wyoming was led by Marlene Peterson, who had 19 points. Allison Fertig had 17 points and 18 boards. And then off the bench for Wyoming, McKinley Dickerson, who had 10 points. So what do I have to say about San Diego State? It's an amazing win for them. Like, bravo indeed. Like, the fact that this team wound up making it all the way. First and foremost, this team didn't even finish that high in the MPSF. They finished 4th in the MPSF, and they did get the bye to the quarterfinals. And then eventually they did beat New Mexico, like I mentioned. They actually tied with New Mexico for the 4-5 spot, but eventually it didn't wind up mattering. But they took down UNLV, which was the regular season Big Mountain West Conference champion, and then they also took down Wyoming, which was the 2 seed. So amazing job to San Diego State. Might have been the weirdest game ever. 10 points between both teams combined in that fourth quarter, and the 2 teams also needed 3 overtimes. So great job to San Diego State. They are dancing. They will be joining UCLA and USC as members of SoCal that have punched their ticket into the big dance. All right, but jumping over to the Big West Conference, and then we'll halt the brakes on the women's basketball, NCAA women's basketball. So UC Irvine is in they punched their ticket into the semifinals. They got the 2 seed, and they were awarded a double bye. So they got not 1 but 2 byes, and they advanced all the way to the semifinals, where UC Irvine will actually play UC Davis tonight. Well, not tonight, today at not for a little while longer. So it's going to be like about 2 hours or so. So pretty much 2 hours until they face UC Davis. So they UC Irvine end the regular season with a win over UC Santa Barbara, and they also beat UC Davis in the second to last match of the regular season. So hopefully for Irvine's sake, they can continue their winning ways. Now, UC San Diego, they're also another team from SoCal that has made it into the semifinals of the Big West Conference Tournament. So unlike UC Irvine, UC San Diego got a single bye. They got a bye into the quarterfinals. They did actually end the regular season on a sour note as they lost to UC Davis 69-58, but they managed to bounce back from that, take down Cal Poly, who was kind of that little engine that could, as Cal Poly did take down UC Riverside in the first round, only to succumb to UC Irvine. So all in all for UC San Diego, it was a very good win for them, a good bounce back win, but they take on Hawaii, which should be going on right now, because if I recall correctly, this is being played at Lee's Family Forum and whatnot. So, okay, here we go. All right, so second quarter action, and UC San Diego is up 22-6 on Hawaii. 22-6 on Hawaii. Keep in mind, Hawaii is the number 1 seed of this tournament. They had been red hot for the most part. It even got to the point where they wound up winning 14 straight matches. 14. And UC San Diego is off to a red hot start. This is unheard of. And keep in mind, this is UC San Diego's first year of eligibility in terms of making the NCAA tournament, if they manage to do so. This would be such a storybook win for UC San Diego. And if they were to make the NCAA tournament. Anyway, UC San Diego is up 25-8 in the second quarter against Hawaii. This is televised on ESPN+. We'll circle back to this a little bit later, but that's how UC San Diego is doing. So that's going to basically do it for the NCAA women's basketball side of things. All the other SoCal teams have unfortunately succumbed in their conference tournaments, such as like Long Beach State, UC Riverside, the West Coast Conference teams. CBU unfortunately had a little bit of an NCAA tournament hangover, as they made the tournament last year but lost in the quarterfinals to UT Arlington of the WAC tournament. So no NCAA tournament for them. But it is what it is, and that's how it is. Them's the breaks sometimes. All right, so that's that for NCAA women's basketball. So in terms of NCAA men's basketball, so it's not as scattered as it is right now, just because there are no automatic qualifiers in terms of teams that have already punched their ticket. But UC San Diego did clinch the regular season championship outright, as they wound up winning on national television against UC Davis, as they wound up winning 68-57. Now, I will say for UC San Diego, while they did win, I'll give credit to UC Davis. Their student section showed up big time. They showed up quite a bit, and I can't hate on that, just because they probably invited the entire campus to this one, because it was nationally televised on ESPN too. But UC San Diego was able to get the win. So in case you are not keeping track, they have won 13 straight games. So that's big stuff right there. They got their double bye into the semifinals of the Big West Conference Tournament. They actually play UC Santa Barbara, which took down UC Riverside? Yeah, they took down UC Riverside. But the fun fact about the Big West Conference is there was actually an all SoCal quarterfinal in the Big West Conference tournament, which I thought was pretty good, because there are only 2 non-SoCal teams in the Big West: UC Davis, which is from NorCal, and Hawaii, which surprisingly had such a down year. But for Hawaii, Bakersfield, and Long Beach State, as well as Cal State Fullerton, they all didn't make it, which unfortunately is unfortunate. Oh, I'm sorry. Bakersfield did make it, but they did lose to Santa Barbara. Cal Poly did take down UC Davis, which gave us the entire SoCal, all SoCal quarterfinals of the Big West. It was an all SoCal quarterfinals, which I thought was amazing in the Big West, which is just the way I like it. But I digress. So anyway, for UC San Diego, they take on UC Santa Barbara, which last year made the NCAA tournament, knocking off, they knocked off UC Irvine in the Big West Conference tournament and eventually wound up making it. So, for UC Santa Barbara, they actually took down Northridge. They took down Bakersfield in the first round, and then they stunned Northridge in the second round. Pretty good, if you ask me, because Northridge was a pretty solid team, if you ask me. But for Santa Barbara, they advanced to the Big West Conference semifinals, which I thought was pretty good right there. And I just got to make sure I get this right. I thought Bakersfield Bakersfield made it was Bakersfield in the first round. They won up. Santa Barbara wound up winning 71-66, and then they took down Northridge in the second round. Keep in mind, Northridge was actually the 3 seed, so pretty good if you ask me. And I kind of forgot. Its lowest seed faces the remaining higher seed in the next round. So Santa Barbara took down Bakersfield. Cal Poly took down Davis. Cal Poly eventually got to face UC Riverside, and then Santa Barbara got to face. But wait, that makes no sense. Hello? Yeah, this whole thing is a little. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So Santa Barbara advanced to the semifinals. So that's one side of the bracket in terms of the Big West Conference. And then for the other side of the bracket, we've got UC Irvine just chilling, waiting for its opponent. So UC Irvine will play Cal Poly on ESPN2, mind you. So Cal Poly has kind of been the little engine that could. They've kind of been the little Cinderella, which I think is pretty darn cool if you ask me. So Cal Poly started off by beating UC Davis in the first round. Sorry to all the NorCal fans out there. And then they took down UC Riverside in the quarterfinals, 96-83. So Cal Poly, keep in mind, Cal Poly finished below the halfway mark of the Big West. They finished 5th worst in the conference. Okay, saying 5th worst is kind of an ugly term. They finished 7th. So they were the 7th seed, took down Davis, then they took down the 4th seed. So there you have it right there. So I think it's pretty darn cool if you ask me. This whole seeding thing is a little backwards if you ask me, but I digress. So let's see if Cal Poly's luck continues against UC Irvine, and that's tonight at 8:30 p.m. Pacific time. So it's Big West After Dark. So you have that right there, and that's a lot to look forward to, as no matter what, we're going to get one SoCal team representing SoCal in the NCAA tournament. So SoCal will have at least one team. I'm certain UCLA will make it into the NCAA tournament. In case you were wondering, UCLA actually got the 4th seed of the Big West, or not the Big West, the Big Ten Conference, and they wound up, and they're playing Wisconsin right now, which I'm not even gonna bother looking at the scores, in my opinion, just because I want to be surprised. But it's probably going to pop up on my ESPN ticker right soon. But there was actually one team that did have a surprising run through the West Coast Conference tournament, and we're talking about Pepperdine here. So yeah, when I look at the West Coast Conference, I think of teams like everyone thinks of teams like Gonzaga, St. Mary's, San Francisco, maybe Portland, but never but in the SoCal teams never get any shine, just because, well, for starters, they all pretty much stink. And Pepperdine, along with San Diego, were one of the worst teams in the West Coast Conference. The best SoCal team from the West Coast Conference was Loyola Marymount, but they actually finished a whopping 7th in the conference. I think it's 7th. Yeah, 7th in the conference. And then they got dismissed early. Pepperdine, on the other hand, they kind of had to take the long road. And I'm just now saw the Wisconsin-UCLA score. Wisconsin is kicking UCLA's butt. Wisconsin is up 48-29 at halftime, which is like, yeah, make it stop, UCLA. Why you got to do this to me? But Pepperdine did have a nice little run. They actually ended the season with a loss to Washington State. So yeah, it was going to be an uphill climb to make it out of the MPS or the West Coast Conference tournament. So looking at the Waves' record, they actually entered the West Coast Conference tournament with a whopping 10 wins. 10 wins. They were 10-21. And keep in mind, they were picked to finish last in the West Coast Conference, and they were also picked to they also finished third to last in the conference. But they managed to take down Portland in the first round, so that's a good thing. 86-73, not bad if you ask me. Not bad. As Mo Odom led the way with 31 points. So that was pretty good right there for Mo Odom. And he could, no, not Lamar Odom's kid, Mo Odom, spelled O-D-U-M. Stefan Todorovic led also had 19 points for Pepperdine. And then Boubacar Koulibaly had 12 points and 11 boards for Pepperdine. Zion Bethea also had 10 points for the Waves in the win as well. So that was actually the second round. So Pepperdine did get a little bit of a mini bye. They got out of the play. They got a bye from the first round, wound up winning their second round game. So good stuff right there for Pepperdine. So Pepperdine advances to take on Oregon State in the third round, which, God, West Coast Conference. The West Coast Conference is brutal for all these little mini teams. So it was the third round of the West Coast Conference tournament, and Pepperdine took on Oregon State and wound up beating Oregon State 77-73. The Waves were down by 2 at halftime, but they managed to turn the tide on the Beavers. And that's not a bad team, as Oregon State's a pretty good team. They're not terrible. They've seen better days, especially back when they were in the Pac-12, but I digress. So Pepperdine was led by Stefan Todorovic. Stefan Todorovic, who had 34 points. Mo Odom had 17 points and 10 assists, which that's pretty good right there. I don't know. Maybe Mo Odom, if he wants to, maybe he can get into. Maybe if he really wants to, maybe he can get invited into the NBA draft combine, and maybe he can get drafted. So we shall see. So Pepperdine beat Oregon State, and then they advanced to the quarterfinals where they took on Santa Clara. Now, Santa Clara is actually one of the more better teams in the West Coast Conference. They're not on the level of St. Mary's or Gonzaga, but they're pretty solid. But Pepperdine took down Santa Clara, the fake USC, by a final score of 78-76. Just like the game against Oregon State, Pepperdine was down by 4 at halftime. But Pepperdine turned the tide by outscoring the Broncos by 6, as Mo Odom led the way with 19 points for Pepperdine in the win. Pepperdine also got contributions from Stefan Todorovic, who had 19 points. I'm trying to pronounce this name right. Dovidas Butka had 18 points. Boubacar Koulibaly had 11 points. These names are so tough. And then again, I don't really cover Pepperdine too much because, like I said, the West Coast Conference's SoCal teams aren't all that much to write home about. But Pepperdine took down Santa Clara, and they advanced to the semifinals of the West Coast Conference tournament. Color me impressed, because keep in mind, this was a Pepperdine team that had only 10 wins. They were 10 games below 500 entering the tournament, and then they wound up, stunning a lot of teams. So they took on the top seed, St. Mary's, and unfortunately for Pepperdine, the magic ride and the Cinderella story just came to an end. The clock struck midnight on Pepperdine as the Waves fell to St. Mary's by a score of 74-59. Kind of close in the first half, even though they were down 10, as Mo Odom led the way for the Waves with 19 points. Stefan Todorovic had 10 points as well, but it was just not enough, as St. Mary, the Gales of St. Mary, who actually were ranked, actually wound up just overwhelming them. I want to see if Mo Odom is a senior or not. If Mo Odom is a senior and he's a junior, so maybe if he wants to forego his senior year, maybe he can go to the NBA. He's a 6'1" guard, so maybe after 1 year. But we shall see. But hats off to Pepperdine on a fantastic season. Very proud of them. I didn't even know they had such a deep run until I saw them making the quarterfinals. I'm like, whoa. And I think it was like 2 or 3 years ago where Pepperdine wound up winning the CIT, so which is kind of like the NIT, but a little lower than the NIT. But I digress. But a very good win, very good season for Pepperdine. I don't care if they finished 9th in the West Coast Conference. I don't care if they finished 9 games below 500. The fact that they had such an amazing Cinderella run was astounding to me. So congratulations to Pepperdine on a fantastic season. And here's hoping that next year will be even better. So now jumping over to the WAC conference. So there's actually another SoCal team from the WAC conference that's making waves, and that's actually CBU. The CBU Lancers, or California Baptist. No, not Cal Baptist, California Baptist. I was actually corrected one time by CBU's athletic X account that is actually CBU or California Baptist and not Cal Baptist. So there you go. All right, but CBU is actually off to a great start in terms of they're actually 17-14. It's been a minute since the men's basketball team has actually been pretty good. No offense to the men's basketball team, but it's always been the women's basketball team that has been shining bright. But this time around, it's the men's basketball team that's been doing great guns for SoCal as they ended the regular season with a 2-point win over UT Arlington. And then they advanced. They actually fit, and then for CBU, they actually finished 3rd in the West Coast or the WAC conference, behind Grand Canyon and Utah Valley, as they took down Tarleton State in the quarterfinals of the WAC tournament, winning by a final score of 55-51. So on ESPNU at 8:30 p.m., CBU takes on Grand Canyon. So that's going to be a little bit of a challenge, just because in terms of facing Grand Canyon head-to-head. Oh, they beat Grand Canyon 85-71, and that's the only meeting between these two teams, which I find rather interesting. But interesting to say the least, CBU could possibly have a nice little matchup right here. If they could play their cards right, they could, hence the word could, possibly make it out of the WAC tournament, or they could at least make it to the finals. And then on the other side of that bracket, Utah State takes on Seattle, but we don't care about either of those teams because they're not SoCal. All right, but that is that for NCAA men's basketball. I spent quite a bit of time on NCAA men's basketball, so that's going to do it for that. We're going to take ourselves a quick break. When we come back, we've got some Lakers and Clippers to discuss, as well as some NHL and some MLS. So keep it locked here. You are listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
Are you a fan of Minnesota sports? Do you love the Vikings and hate the Packers? Are you a fan of the Timberwolves, Twins, Wild, Lynx, St. Paul Saints? Here on the Bold North Breakdown, we'll talk about all of those professional teams as well as all the college teams in the area. That's your basketball teams, football, hockey, volleyball, men's and women's sports alike. We talk about them all. You're on the Bold North Breakdown. Join me, your host, Glenn Ritter, every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central to discuss all that is happening in the Minnesota sports scene here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Big Mike from Indie Sports Nation. Come hang out with me each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time, where we talk things Indiana sports. We talk Colts, Pacers, Fever, Indy Ignite, and we dive into the college scene as well. Boilermakers, Hoosiers, Irish, Bulldogs, and every school in between. And we don't stop there. We'll sprinkle in some NHRA and cover the IndyCar series. From the turf to the hardwood to the track, we got you covered. Come hang out with your boy, Big Mike, each and every Friday, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Indie Sports Nation, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
back with segment number 2 of the SoCal Spring Sports Show here on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out our amazing shows such as Indie Sports Nation with Big Mike. Pretty sure that's going on right now, but I'm not entirely certain. But definitely check that out. Also check out Bold North Sports with Glenn Ritter. He does an amazing job. That show goes on every Thursday, unless further noted. But I digress. All right, let's get on into the second part of the show. So jumping on over from the NCAA men's basketball side of things, or the college basketball side of things, let's actually take a quick peek on how UCLA is still at halftime with Wisconsin, and they're still down 19. So terrible if you ask me. Come on, Bruins. Like, that's sad. I'm certain UCLA will make the NCAA tournament. I doubt they'll miss it. I mean, they've got too many good wins to, miss the tournament, but I digress. But checking back on UC San Diego and Hawaii in women's basketball, UC San Diego continues to roll as they're actually up 14-8 or 41-18 at halftime. So the Lady Tritons are just kicking butt and taking names. So great job to UC San Diego. We'll circle the wagons back on them a little bit later as let's jump on into some NBA action. So let's talk some Lakers. Let's rip the Band-Aid off because, well, for starters, Saturday was not fun, as the Lakers wound up losing to those dreaded Boston Celtics, by a whopping score of 111 to 101, which is unfortunate just because the Celtics, sorry if my nose is itchy, but the Celtics, after it was tied, it was actually Lakers down at 4 after halftime, but then the Celtics just went on a little bit of a big run. They just were not looking back, and unfortunately, it was found out that LeBron James had been ruled out with a groin injury. So Lakers did actually make it interesting. They actually got the lead down to 4 points, but the Celtics just had an answer for them. Now, the big thing for the Lakers is this is where you really wish you had LeBron, because he is that fearless man who will just not fear anything. And as good as Luka Doncic was, he was still his Luka Doncic self, which is unfortunate. And this is where you also missed Rui Hachimura's perimeter shooting. And the Lakers had no business falling behind by 21 points. Like, that was just sad. And it even got to the point where J.J. Redick had to fire up his team by getting a technical. And J.J. Redick did – I'll give JJ a lot of credit because he needed to fire up his team just because the Lakers just looked lethargic. And Brian thinks he's so funny. He says, Bastin, LeBron is a great actor. Oh, okay, guy. Okay, host of our Boston show, Beantown Sports Town. Yeah. Have your little victory lap over the Lakers. I don't care. Consider the Lakers stirred and not shaken. So Lakers unfortunately lost that one, but they also lost LeBron in the process as he was out for at least 2 weeks, maybe 1 week. But Lakers unfortunately dropped another one to the Brooklyn Nets, 111 to 108. They started off the game pretty good, and then they just started deteriorating as they were down 1 at halftime, and then they just could not catch those Brooklyn Nets. Keep in mind, Brooklyn is one of the worst teams, and unfortunately, this was kind of the D'Angelo Russell revenge game, even though he didn't lead the way. And the Lakers were awful when the Lakers were bad when Gabe Vincent has to lead them in points. So it was unfortunate right there. And yesterday, the Lakers lost to the Brooklyn Nets 126 to 106. They were competitive in the first half, but then the Bucks really started to crank up the volume as they just drubbed the Lakers for the most part, even though Luka Doncic had 45 points. Normally, when a player scores 45 points, a team winds up winning. But since it's just Luka having to carry the team, it speaks to high volumes that him nearly having half of the Lakers' points just really, really is just not ideal for the Lakers. And then Austin Reeves also having 28 points. I'll give him credit. He was solid as well. But Doncic also had 6 turnovers, which I think this is like the 3rd straight game that he's had 5 or more turnovers. So it's unfortunate for the Lakers. They've lost 3 straight, and they're kind of losing ground. They've actually got a big, important game tonight against the Denver Nuggets. And to the Lakers' dismay, they've actually ruled out Luka Doncic against the Nuggets. So God, the deck is stacked against the Lakers. LeBron James is out. Trey Jemison is day-to-day. Dorian Finney-Smith is day-to-day. Gabe Vincent is day-to-day. Even he's not 100%. You've got Rui Hachimura that's still out. LeBron is out. Yeah, so this is Maxi Kleber's still out ever since the 4th of February. And then Jackson Hayes is still out. So, God, the Lakers, let me just be realistic with you all. Taking off my Homer hat, the Lakers not at full strength will not win the NBA championship. If the Lakers have everybody like LeBron, Luka, Austin Reeves, Rui Hachimura, Jackson Hayes, the list goes on, then maybe the Lakers have a shot. But if they're not at full strength, the Lakers will not win the NBA championship. I got to be realistic. The Lakers don't look like the team that they're supposed to be. And it sucks because I really think the Lakers have a lot of promise and potential. The problem is that they need everyone all hands on deck. And currently right now the Lakers are the 4 seed, and if the playoffs start today, they would take on the Houston Rockets. If they do take down the Denver Nuggets, then they would jump right back up to the 3 seed, but that would mean they'd also take on the Golden State Warriors, which have actually been playing some good basketball as of late, as painful as that is to say. But it is what it is, and unfortunately for the Lakers, they're just going to have to ride this one out until they get LeBron, or they're just going to have to LeBron back, and Luka needs to get back to full strength because this is the second of a back-to-back. So he's going to be gassed, dude. The Lakers are going to be straight up gassed. So jumping on over to the Clippers, they actually have won 4 of their last 5. They just recently beat the Miami Heat 119-104, which, it's the Miami Heat. They're not winning a whole lot anyway. They did, however, lose to the New Orleans Pelicans 127-120, and come on, that's the Pelicans we're talking about. That's almost as bad as when the Lakers lost to the Charlotte Hornets coming out of the All-Star break. So that loss to the Pels actually snapped a 3-game skid. Against the Kings, however, the Sacramento Kings, Kawhi Leonard had the game-winning basket, and James Harden had himself a legacy game as the Clippers took down the Kings 111-110. And that was big right there because had the Clippers lost to the Kings, they would have actually been back of the Kings in terms of the Western Conference standings. So the Clippers are still in that play-in range, which is unfortunate for them, but they're 8th. It's not as bad as it once was, as the Kings just can't seem to catch a break. And the Clippers, they're a game and a half ahead of the Kings, so that's good right there the Clippers are a game and a half ahead of the Kings. They're a game and a half behind the T-Wolves. They still have a chance to finish outside of the play-in in terms of the top 6, but they kind of need to start playing better basketball as of late, because if they do, then they might have a chance. They play Atlanta tonight at 4:30 p.m. in Atlanta, so we'll see if the Clippers are able to turn the tide and maybe rise up in the rankings, or if it's just going to be another case of they'll be in the play-in. Well, not another case in the play-in, but another SoCal team in the play-in, but I digress. But the Clippers aren't as bad as like Sacramento and whatnot. It's just that Golden State has been surging. They've won 6 straight, and they've only lost 1 game with Jimmy Butler, which I think is very scary. I can't believe that's actually happening, but I digress. All right, but that is that for the Clippers right there. So jumping over to the NHL. So the Kings actually moved up in terms of their division, which I think is pretty darn good if you ask me. So the Kings they've actually won 4 straight, which is very good if you ask me. And keep in mind, this was a Kings team that was just barely holding on to the 3rd spot. But now they've moved up, which I think is pretty awesome if you ask me. So looking at the Kings' 4-game win streak, it hasn't really been against the most glamorous teams, but they've beaten some solid teams. They beat the Capitals yesterday 3-0. They beat the New York Islanders on Tuesday 4-1. They beat the Vegas Golden Knights 6-5 in Vegas, which I thought was pretty good. And then last Saturday, they took down the St. Louis Blues in OT 2-1. So after that 5-game losing streak, the Kings have now won 4 straight games. So their next game will be tomorrow against the Nashville Predators. So, all right, that's good. At least the Kings remembered how to win and they forgot how to lose. So that's good. That's good stuff right there. Now, as for the Ducks, however, the Ducks haven't really been so beneficial, as they've actually lost 4 of their last 5, with their most recent loss coming against the Utah Hockey Club, a.k.a. the former formerly known as the Arizona Coyotes, as they lost to the Utah Hockey Club by a final score of 3-2, and then that was Wednesday. Tuesday, they wound up losing to the Washington Capitals 7-4. It was actually close until the third quarter, and the worst part is that not Anze Kopitar. Why am I blanking on this guy's name? Why Washington's Alex Ovechkin. I get those two A's mixed up. Anze Kopitar and Alex Ovechkin, but I digress. But yeah, they lost to the Washington Capitals, which, okay, that wasn't really surprising. I had a feeling the Ducks were going to have a little bit of a tough time against those guys. But yeah, the Ducks are just not. They're losing ground again. They're starting to look like the Ducks that we all kind of expected them to see, just because the Ducks straight up are just booty, and not good booty, if you ask me. So the Ducks, they're 6th in the Pacific Division. At least they're better than Seattle and San Jose. No offense to Seattle fans. Can't say the same for San Jose fans. But last Sunday, they took down the New York Islanders 4-1. I was very optimistic that the Ducks would have a little bit better of a showing, but I guess the Capitals are still there, and then they just can't beat Utah, which is sad because Utah's no prize pig either. But I digress. So next up for the Ducks is a game against the Nashville Predators tonight. Then they've got a 3-game road trip against the St. Louis Blues on Sunday. They've got a road trip against the Dallas Stars on Tuesday. And then they've got the Nashville Predators in Nashville on Thursday. And then the following Sunday, not this Sunday, they host the Carolina Hurricanes. So, yeah, it's not looking too great for the Ducks, but this was kind of supposed to be like a little bit of a meh year. Like, no one expected any big things from the Ducks. And honestly, anyone that really expects the Ducks to do something, well, you're lying to yourself. But I digress in that, and that'll pretty much do it for the NHL portion of the show. The Kings are still looking good, and I'm happy they are. My only qualm is that the Ducks straight up stink, and it sucks because the Ducks, they're just straight up sad at this point. They're wasting away their star players' best years, and especially Trevor Zegras. And it sucks, but it is what it is. All right, but that's that for the NHL. Quick little update on UCLA, Wisconsin in men's basketball. Wisconsin is up 52-38, according to my ESPN app. It's probably something else. It's probably either better or worse, but I digress. All right, we're jumping on over to the MLS. So in terms, the Galaxy are straight up stinking. So they've had some good news and they've had some good news and they've had some bad news. Let's start off with the good news. Let's start with the bad news. Bad news, they are still winless. They've lost 3 straight. Remember how they went from worst to first? Well, now they've gone from worst to first to worst again. I know it's early in the season, but their most recent game, they lost to St. Louis City SC by a whopping score of 3-0. The crazy part is that the Galaxy outpossessed St. Louis 70.4% to 29.6%. How? And the Galaxy had 8 shots on goal. St. Louis only had 5 shots on goal, and 3 of those went in. As Cedric Tuchert scored the first goal in the 44th minute, Marcel Hartel had the 49th goal, or the goal in the 49th minute, and then Simon Becker had the goal in the 84th minute. So Galaxy are still without a win. They're one of 2 teams that is both 0-0-3, and that other team is Sporting KC. So, God, that's sad right there. Talk about a massive MLS Cup hangover. But the Galaxy did have some good news. So they actually, after they lost 1-0 to Herediano in the first leg of the CONCACAF round of 16, the Galaxy wound up crushing Herediano at the former StubHub Center, the Dignity Health Sports Park, by a whopping score of 4-1. So Galaxy were up 4-0, but this one was over by the time pretty much the 53rd minute rolled around, as the Galaxy were up 2-0 at halftime, courtesy of Julian Aud and Miguel Berry, as they scored the 30th and 38th minute respectively. Then Gabriel Peck and Christian Ramirez scored in the 53rd and 76th minute, respectively. Herediano did get a goal in the 82nd minute, but it didn't really matter. Galaxy won 2/3 of the possession battle, and they They had 5 shots on goal, but 4 of those 5 shots went in. So good job to the Galaxy. At least they can win that. At least they can be consistent in the CONCACAF tournament, which doesn't say much about the Galaxy because the CONCACAF doesn't mean anything. Okay, it does mean something, but the CONCACAF doesn't count toward the MLS record. But the Galaxy will face Tigres in the CONCACAF tournament, but that's not for another week or so. But the next MLS match for the Galaxy is on Sunday when they play at the Portland Timbers. Looking at the Portland Timbers, they are not too far off from the Galaxy. They do have 1 win though, but that's not too much to write home about. So there's that for the Galaxy. As for LAFC, I already talked about them. They lost to Seattle, their first loss of the season to the Seattle Sounders. They also lost to the Columbus Crew in the second leg of the CONCACAF round of 16, 2-1. But since LAFC wound up having that 3-0 burst in that first leg, LAFC advanced on aggregate as they wound up winning the whole aggregate 2-1. So they advanced to the CONCACAF quarterfinals, which I think is pretty darn cool if you ask me. I guess their opponent is to be determined, but we're not ultimately concerned about that. But the Galaxy's next match is tomorrow as they host Austin FC. So looking at Austin FC, they're below the halfway mark. They're also in the same boat as the Portland Timbers. But for LAFC, they're still solid. I just think that they're off to a better start than the Galaxy are, which says a lot about the LA teams. At least LAFC is on the right track. The Galaxy are still suffering from that MLS Cup hangover. Also, some of their players are injured, and they lost some of their best players to either retirement or the free agency. And then lastly, we've got San Diego FC, which is our new SoCal team from the MLS. And they wound up going on the road against Real Salt Lake and beating them 3-1. So they have yet to win, or they have yet to lose a road game, but yet to win a home game. So looking at this matchup between San Diego and Real Salt Lake, this matchup between Real Salt Lake and San Diego, that is not the summary. Real Salt Lake, they kind of dominated possession. They wound up having 52.5% to Real Salt Lake's 47.5%. San Diego FC had 8 shots on goal, with 3 of them going in, with 15 shot attempts overall. So it was a solid win. Winning on the road is never easy. So starting to get the feeling that San Diego is, even though they have a small fan base, probably not as big as most people think because, well, this is their inaugural season. San Diego is off to a good start. They're actually doing really good, and I did not expect this. But yeah, pretty good for an expansion team. But San Diego is actually second in the Western Conference, behind the Vancouver Whitecaps, who are still undefeated. Show-offs. But the San Diego FC, they are kicking butt and taking names, and I'm happy they're actually making an impact in the MLS in their first year. So keep it up, San Diego FC. Keep kicking butt and taking names, and we will hopefully see you in the playoffs as San Diego is back in action as they kind of get a little bit of a challenge. Their first challenge of the season will come against the Columbus Crew, who just like them are 2-1-0. 2 wins, 1 tie, 0 losses. This will be played tomorrow at 7:30 p.m., so I feel bad for Columbus fans, except I don't. So let's hope that San Diego is able to take down that pesky Columbus Crew. All right, that's going to do it for the MLS portion of this show. We're going to take ourselves one last commercial break. When we come back, we've got some NFL free agency to talk about. So keep it locked here. You're listening to the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph DeLeese, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports. And I will update you on all that's black and gold and have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Calise, the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
Hockey fans, I'm Adam Kernick.
And I'm Zach Puplis.
Together, we are the newest version of Hockey Talk on IE Sports Radio, The Neutral Zone.
Zone.
We love hockey, but we also know it's not everyone's first sport. So we want to make this show as much for new fans as for the diehards.
Whether you can name all the Swedes on the 08 Red Wings Stanley Cup team, or if you can't tell if Varlamov is a goalie or the latest trendy vodka, we're here to help. With facts, figures, and outrageous fans, we bring you all the hard-hitting hockey news you can handle, while still keeping it fun and on the rails. Well, mostly.
So tune in every week as we go around the hockey world, from college to Canada, the minors and the majors, and everywhere in between.
So bring your cellies,
And your one-timers,
you wicked wristas.
and be sure to protect your five-hole.
Catch the Neutral Zone every week on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
We promise not to pick on the Arizona Coyotes every episode.
Welcome back to the final segment of the SoCal Supreme Sports Show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. Definitely check out all of our amazing shows, such as the Neutral Zone, which will not be able to make fun of the Arizona Coyotes just because the Arizona Coyotes are non-existent. Also check out the Injury Report with Ralph Calise, good friend of the show right there. He definitely does an amazing job with his show. All right, but with all that said and done, let us get on into the final part of our show, as everyone's probably waiting for it. Everyone's probably waiting for this moment in terms of the show. It's NFL free agency, and I decided to save this for last just because, well, we gotta save the best for last. And normally I would start off with the NFL to start off the show, but honestly, why not? Why not kick it off a little bit different? So in terms of the Chargers and the Rams, they have been pretty busy. So let's actually start off with the Chargers. Well, first and foremost, I got to give a late happy birthday to Justin Herbert, my quarterback, who had his birthday 4 days ago. So happy to don the number 10 jersey of the Powder Blues. So happy birthday to Justin Herbert, or Justin Patrick Herbert. So there you go. And Brian Francione says, my team has a great defense and no offense whatsoever. Oof. Yeah, he's referring to those Patriots, who have been busy, but they're probably going to look good defensively, but not so great offensively. But I digress. Okay, so the Chargers, in terms of re-signing, they have re-signed players such as Khalil Mack, Troy Dye, Denzel Perriman, J.K. Scott, Bradley Bozeman, Tyir Tart, Taylor Heineke, and Jalen Reagor. Blah. They brought him back? Okay, so let's break down some of these re-signings. So, great that the Chargers brought back Khalil Mack. Great that the Chargers brought back Troy Dye. All right, good. Great that the Chargers brought back Denzel Perriman, because now he's the last original San Diego Charger. Great that the Chargers brought back J.K. Scott, because he could punt the you-know-what out of the ball. Saw that the Chargers brought back center Bradley Bozeman. Great that the Chargers brought back Tyir Tart. This is as long as he doesn't fumble when he gets an interception. Solid that the Chargers brought back Taylor Heineke. So everything has been solid except for Jalen Reagor. Now, maybe I'm jumping the gun with this, but I just don't agree with bringing back Jalen Reagor. If they're gonna have him, probably put him on like kickoff return. But then they have Darius Davis, so I understand why they brought back Jalen Rager. I mean, dude fumbled into the end zone against the Cardinals. That should have been the last strike right there. Dude is not good. I'm sorry. And the Chargers, as you're about to see, they've got some good wide receivers. They've already got Ladd McConkey. They've got Quentin Johnson, who can be solid at times. He's not bad, but he's not great either. So, and who knows? Maybe they'll draft Matthew Golden from Texas in the NFL draft. So you have that right there. So as for the Chargers signings, this is actually something that my boy Ralph Calise popped in the chat room. He said, take good care of Najee Harris. Well, that was actually one of the players that the Chargers signed. So Najee Harris is a big-time signing. So the Chargers did release Gus Edwards. Whatever. I mean, Gus Edwards was solid. He was serviceable when J.K. Dobbins was out, but he just did not move the needle for the Chargers run game, unlike Dobbins. So Najee Harris is a great signing for the Chargers. They got him on I think it was a 1-year deal. They got him for really cheap, which I think is pretty darn good if you ask me. And he's had in all of his seasons with the Steelers and in his first 4 years in the league altogether, Najee Harris has had 1,000 rushing yard seasons, which is something the Chargers definitely need. So I think for the Chargers, signing Najee Harris is amazing. And this might even take the whole Ashton Genty theory off the table for the Chargers. So I think that's big time right there. It also makes me wonder if the Chargers will bring back J.K. Dobbins. I think it would be great because he had such a great year, even when he got hurt. So Najee Harris is a great signing for the Chargers. The Chargers also signed Dante Jackson, which I think that's a solid signing. He led the Steelers in interceptions with 6, if not maybe. Regardless, he did lead the Steelers in interceptions last year, according to my boy Ralph Calise. So, the Chargers need cornerback depth, and honestly, I think that is much needed for the Chargers, and I'll gladly take it. I'll gladly take Dante Jackson. Now, the Chargers also signed another corner, Ben St-Juste, which, okay, he's another corner. He came from Washington. Some are saying that he's okay. Some are saying he's not good. Some are saying he's decent. Mike Pat, I actually do want to pull up what Mike Pat said. Don't worry, I won't be sharing it on screen just because I don't want us to get in trouble, but I actually do want to read what Mike Pat said about him, because he did come from the Washington Commanders. So where is Mike Pat's little post about him, or his reply? Okay, Mike Pat said, decent corner, not a lockdown player. Had a rough stretch where he was forced to match up against the top receivers. Good news is right now the AFC West doesn't have a lot of elite talent there. Okay, well, I mean, he'll probably won't be cornerback 1. He'll probably be cornerback 2. And then he's also got to be facing like competition with Tahib Still, who had himself a great first year with the Chargers. So I imagine he'll probably be cornerback 3 or something of that sort. So he probably will be like a practice squad player or whatnot. But if he's a decent corner, then I'll take it. Just because the Chargers need some good corners. They will lose Asante Samuel Jr., which is unfortunate. God, what a waste of a second-round pick. Okay, that's a little harsh to say. He was decent with the Chargers, but then injuries kind of caught up to him, and then unfortunately he kind of made his way out the door. So it is what it is sometimes, and sadly, that's just how it is. And I'm glad the Chargers are addressing the cornerback room. Now, another player that the Chargers brought back was Mike Williams. Yes, the Mike Williams. Whole lot of Mike Williams, which I think is pretty darn cool if you ask me. So Mike Williams coming back is amazing. It's a 1-year deal, but honestly, Mike Williams coming back is absolutely amazing, and I'm happy that he's back with the Chargers. So happy that he's not getting passed around the league like he did with the Jets and Steelers. And then the Chargers also signed defensive players, Deshaun Hand and Naquan Jones. All right, well, since the Chargers did lose Joey Bosa, or they just released him recently, I mean, yeah, I suppose that's decent. And they brought back Khalil Mack. So all in all, the Chargers have been solid in terms of free agency. I would like to also see them bring back Keenan Allen. He's out there, and honestly, he wants to go to only 3 teams. He either wants to come back to the Bears, or he wants to go to the Rams, or he wants to come back to the Chargers. I think he should go with the Chargers. But that remains to be seen. But with the Chargers cap space situation, they should have a lot of money to throw around. So hopefully the Chargers manage to strike gold when it comes to free agency. All right, but that's that for the Chargers. Now jumping over to the Rams, their signings or trades, well, they only got like a few trades. Well, they did trade Jonah Jackson for a 6th-round pick, but whatever. I mean, it's just Jonah Jackson. I mean, it is what it is. But in terms of their signings and trades, well, they only had 3 signings so far. They got Devontae Adams, Poona Ford, and Coleman Shelton. So Coleman Shelton is a SoCal kid, and he was a former Ram. So now he's back with the Rams, and that's pretty cool. I mean, he's an offensive lineman, and the Rams do need all the offensive line help that they can get, which kind of makes me wonder, will they still be drafting offensive linemen in the draft? I mean, I imagine they should. I mean, they need all the help that they can get in terms of protecting Matthew Stafford. And then Poona Ford, he is actually a former Charger. That's actually a pretty good signing just because the Rams did struggle in terms of the run game. So I'm happy for the Rams that they're addressing that issue just because they are in a conference that is comprised of the likes of, I don't know, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, and so much more. So I'm happy. And also, I forget his first name. It's Walker the Third. It's Walker the Third, and he's on the Seahawks. But anyway, I digress in that regard. But I'm glad the Rams are addressing run stopping. So good for them. Good for them. And this is a good signing right here. I think this is a good signing in terms of defensive talent, and hopefully for the Rams they can continue to sign. And he had a pretty good season with the Chargers last year. I just hope that he can continue to help the Rams' young defensive line. But remember, this young defensive line is growing up really fast just because I think this the Rams defense made a lot of leaps and bounds. It's just all about continuing the consistency and whatnot. And then Devontae Adams, well, we need no introduction with Devontae. He's past his prime, and this signing was a little questionable as he was signed to a 2-year deal for $47 million with $27 guaranteed. Okay, that kind of eats up a lot of cap space, but honestly, or not a lot of cap space, but a good chunk of cap space. But I will say, I think this is a decent signing, but this signing did mean the unthinkable, which I'm about to get into in a little bit. But all in all, for the Rams, getting Devontae Adams was big right here. So I'm very happy that the Rams got Devontae Adams, and I'm hoping that he'll be a great 1-2 punch with Puka Nacua. And because of this, of Devontae Adams coming to the Rams, he is actually going to be taking number 17, while Puka Nacua will be taking number 12. So, all right, that's pretty good. It's very unselfish of Puka, and Puka is actually a team player. And then for the Rams' re-signings, they only re-signed 2 players, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Tutu Atwell. So, all right, well, Tutu's back, and they just re-signed Devontae Adams. So you're kind of seeing the writing on the wall right here, which means one thing. The Rams released Cooper Kupp. So, look, it was kind of inevitable. The writing was on the wall with the Rams signing Devontae Adams and bringing back Tutu Atwell. It is what it is, unfortunately, and sadly, look, this is the end of an era for the Cooper Kupp era in LA, and I was just sad. I was hoping the Rams could maybe get him for cheap, but Kupp wants that big contract. He wants to get the bag, and I don't blame him because, remember, this dude was a former Super Bowl MVP. This dude had the eventual go-ahead game-winning touchdown catch for the Rams against the Cincinnati Bengals. He made Eli Apple his daddy. Eli Apple is now his daddy until further notice. So I shouldn't say that as a Chargers fan, but it is what it is. But yeah, Cooper Kupp, a lot of amazing memories with Cooper Kupp. And for this moment, I'm going to take off the Chargers jersey. And I'm just going to point to you right up there. If without Cooper Kupp, that Super Bowl flag that says Super Bowl 56 champions, it doesn't happen. That Super Bowl does not happen without Cooper Kupp's amazing catch in the end zone against Eli Apple on the one. So there you go. So Cooper Kupp, we'll forever miss you. At least SoCal will miss you. Rams fans will definitely miss you. I'm certain the Niners, Seahawks, and Cardinals aren't going to miss you, but it was an honor to have you on the Rams. We'll miss you, man. Wherever you go, hopefully not to an NFC West team, which I highly doubt, because I don't think the Niners are going to want to sign someone like that who's just coming off of 2 major injuries back-to-back seasons. But hopefully Kupp does sign somewhere that he doesn't have to terrorize the Rams. And one more time when it comes to Cooper Kupp, we'll miss you, man. One last thing for Cooper Kupp. Coop! One last Coop right there. We'll miss you, Coop. Don't be a stranger. I hope it goes to the Chargers partially. If the Chargers can't get Keenan Allen, I hope they get Cooper Kupp. But it is what it is. I mean, we'll miss Cooper Kupp. The Ramily will miss Cooper Kupp. And when I saw the news, I was like, gosh darn it, Rams. But he wants that back. He wants that big contract because I think he still has what it is. He still has what it takes. It's just that he's just coming off of 2 big injuries. But it is what it is, and that's just how it is. The NFL is a business. So we shall see. But thank you, Cooper Kupp, for everything. We'll miss you. And just don't terrorize the Rams when you play them, or if you play them. All right, but that's going to do it for the Rams and Chargers portion of this show. So I'm actually going to put on my Chargers jersey back on again. That's backwards. I had to take off the Chargers jersey just for that moment of the Rams because it would look really awkward as a man with a Chargers jersey pointing to a Rams jersey. So there you go. All right. Now we gotta get on into the Dumb of the Week. So Dumb of the Week goes out to someone that says or does something dumb. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually gonna think this was kind of a little tricky to pick just because, well, I didn't really put too much thought into Dumb of the Week, and well, for starters, I didn't really have a whole lot to choose from just because no one has been doing a whole lot of dumb things, which is actually good. No one has been doing dumb things. No one has been saying dumb things. I mean, I guess if I had to give Dumb of the Week, I'd give it to like the Clippers because they lost to the Pelicans. Seriously, they lost to the Pelicans. Like, how do you lose to the Pelicans? How? Anyway, I guess on that note, I will give out Dumb of the Week to said Pelicans team because, okay, before I give them out, officially make it official, UCLA is down 65-51, but I got to make it official now. The New Orleans Pelicans are Dumb of the Week, and you want to know why? Because last night, they were eliminated from the playoffs, which was kind of obvious, but Pelicans are out of the playoffs again because they just have no trajectory. They just don't know where up is. And to this day, I will just say it like I truly mean it. The Lakers still won the Anthony Davis trade. What have the Pelicans done in terms of that trade? They've done nothing. They have not won a playoff series. They don't have the rings to show it. They have won nothing. They stink. They're bad. They're terrible. They're terrible, dude. I just can't believe the Pelicans have still done nothing to this day. And the best part is the Lakers don't even have Anthony Davis anymore. Oh, Pelicans, you're Dumb of the Week. You have been eliminated from the playoff contention again, and you still have lost the Anthony Davis trade. You still have lost the Anthony Davis trade. State Pelicans, just blow it up. Blow up the team, sell it. I don't care. I'm sorry to Pelicans fans out there. I know you truly don't deserve this, but you all just had to start running your mouth when y'all had that number 4 pick, when we traded that number 4 pick. But to let it be known, the Lakers have still won the Anthony Davis trade, and that's never going to change. You, unfortunately, have lost the Anthony Davis trade, and you just still can't make the playoffs. You haven't been consistent. When was the last time the Pelicans were ever consistent? Oh, wait, never. Okay, that's a little harsh. But post Anthony Davis era. When was the last time the Pelicans were actually relevant? Oh, yeah, never or hardly. But yeah, the New Orleans Pelicans are dumb of the week. There's no debate. All right, but that is going to do it for that right there. And ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for this week's episode of the SoCal Stream Sports Show. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in. If you listen live, I appreciate you. If you listen on playback, I appreciate you. If you listen at work, I appreciate you. If you listen at any time, any place, anywhere, I appreciate you. UCLA is still down to Wisconsin. They're down 18 now in the second half. They're probably down worse or better. I don't know. That's what my ESPN ticker is saying. But on that note, let's check on UC San Diego versus Hawaii in women's basketball, because a spot in the Big West Conference Tournament Championship is on the line. And Hawaii has nibbled the lead down to 16. And hopefully the UC San Diego can hold on. I mean, there's no way UC San Diego manages to blow this. If they find a way to fumble this lead where they've led by as many as 20 points, why are you taking threes? Then we have a problem here with UC San Diego, and they might be dumb of the week. But until then, have yourself a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy all the SoCal sports action. I will see you all on Monday for Set Point. Have a great week, and remember, SoCal is for SoCal. Peace!